Three things I'm looking for when I like first pick up the guitar would be first the neck shape for me, because I have smaller hands than probably the average player. Usually the comfort of the neck is probably the biggest priority for me. And this one feels pretty good. It's pretty flat. And I can get around on it pretty easily, especially up in the higher register, which is pretty important for some of the stuff I do. I end up playing kind of all over the neck, not just down at the bottom of the neck. The second thing would be the overall tone and sound of the guitar. I like the brightness of this one. It's definitely pretty cool. It's pretty punchy for, say, if you're leading worship and you need your guitar to project more. You probably either need it to be really jangly sounding to get through the mix, or you need it to be kind of like on muted stuff to really punch through in the low end. And I'm sensing that here. And then probably the third criteria is actually intonation, like not just that the guitar, the strings, open strings are in tune on open chords, which this sounds great, but also as I get up higher in the neck, you want the chords that are up higher to be in tune as well. So probably what I would do to check that out is just try some like major triads. It sounds pretty good, so far so good, sounds great. And then something else to consider is like a lot of worship leaders are gonna be using their capo quite a bit and moving that around on the neck. So intonation then is also really important. As I move the capo around, I wanna be sure that, you know, the chords up higher and higher on the neck are in tune. So I brought my capo and I'll give it a try. Sounds pretty good. If we move it up here, still sounds really in tune. So I think that's great, especially if you're playing in a situation where maybe you're modulating in the middle of a song, or you just need to change the keys for your congregation. I think that this guitar would be a perfect fit. This guitar is made of a Sitka spruce top, walnut back and sides, mahogany neck, and eucalyptus fretboard. This guitar also has a tortoiseshell pickguard, V-class bracing, which is specific to Taylor acoustic guitars, and it also has the expression system, which has volume and tone control. If you're planning to be a worship leader or play on the road, that's specifically important because you want to be able to plug your guitar into a PA or a DI for volume. I kind of like specifically the sort of vintagey look of it. It kind of has those like older Gibson vintage vibe to it. I personally really like vintage looking gear, so I kind of like the sunburst type of thing they have going on here. I like that you can see the grain and the wood and the finish. Both are really cool. It's more top heavy, so the neck feels like it weighs a lot more than the body. The body feels pretty light. For me, that's really important because the weight of the guitar itself kind of really affects how I play it, how I perceive how difficult a part is to play. So having it feel so light in the body just makes it feel much freer to strum and play without too much force or too much effort. For me, playability is more like a freeing thing. When you first pick it up and play the first couple notes, I just feel very free to play anything on the guitar without a lot of force or effort or feeling like I'm having to like pull sound out of the guitar. The tone of this guitar, it seems like it really kind of blossoms and punches through and projects really well. So I feel like I can probably execute most stuff without too much effort or really having to force something out of it. The setup of this guitar, the action, which is the space between the strings and the fretboard, is actually great. It's fairly low, but not so low that the strings are buzzing. Like every string still sounds really clear when I'm playing the notes. But it's not too high to where it's difficult to press down the notes or it affects your intonation or your tuning. It's just the right amount to where I can play really freely without any like buzzy sounds or any tonal or tuning problems. So this guitar is about $2,000. That's a pretty big investment, but my argument for investing in more expensive guitars is that you get more craftsmanship and more attention to detail. The make of the guitar, the detailing, And like I said, the playability, like the tuning, if you get a guitar straight off the factory line, the tuning might not be completely precise, but when you're paying this much, you're getting a lot of detail to things like tuning and playability, action, setup. That's why I think spending this much is worth it for a guitar like this. I would definitely consider using it on the road. It seems pretty durable with how it's built in the wood, which I know it could stand hard travel situations, you know, being on a bus or on a plane, and I know it could stand the wear and tear if it like got bumped into or heaven forbid dropped or anything like that, that it would survive and it would still play great and wouldn't be compromised. This guitar has a lot of punch and a lot of high end to cut through mixes. So I think it would be great for large settings, large stages, using it for worship, leading worship, as opposed to a more mid-rangey guitar that blends a lot more that would be good in a recording setting. The high-end sound kind of reminds me of, at my church, I play guitar at Brentwood Baptist Church here in Brentwood, Tennessee, and we play Glorious Day quite a bit, where it starts with a guitar intro that's very like jangly sounding and needs to be really upfront in the mix. So like it kind of, I just hear that intro when I play it. So like, know that intro is going to be really upfront, and your front of house engineer is not going to have to push you or like EQ your sound. You're going to be there and present for that particular intro. Every time I hear tropical mahogany, I think of something exotic. So I always want to think of like probably Thai food or sushi maybe, or Indian food. Even though it doesn't necessarily sound like we're playing Indian music, I just like feel that every time they say tropical mahogany. Definitely has a lot of presence. It doesn't get lost in a blend, like it definitely just cuts through the mix. Surprisingly, the neck, for how wide it is, it actually feels really good, and the playability is great on it. Sometimes it's cool to like test it out on the higher end, so I like to play like. It still sounds pretty jangly even when you're not necessarily playing like super open chords, which I kind of dig that too. Like I'm not losing any resonance, even though I'm not necessarily playing like any open strings out. I'm playing some like expensive sounding jazzy chords and not losing any of the resonance with it. And the coolest thing is that I don't really have to force anything physically. Like everything just kind of naturally flows out when you like fret the notes, especially up higher. The action is great, the playability is great, so nice.